After being reborn, the system told me, just do whatever makes me happy. In my past life, my ex-girlfriend's heart was always filled with that one who got away, and my biological father and stepmother only ever loved my younger brother. I was nothing but a stray dog trailing behind them, wagging my tail and begging for scraps. The night my brother and I got into that car accident together, I watched my parents' anxious gazes land only on him, saw the missed call from my girlfriend Emily Zhang on my shattered phone screen, and I laughed. Screw being a pathetic loser. If I got another chance, it'd make these leeches kneel down, crying as they crawled to hell to repent. I shook my aching head as waves of pain hit me, only then realizing I wasn't lying in a hospital. So where was this?
Didn't I get in a car accident?
My vision slowly focused and I recognized it, my bedroom. I touched myself all over, all healed. I grabbed my phone, the brightness stung my eyes, but when I saw the date on the screen, I froze. 2019.
Right when Id just graduated from Stanford undergrad.
I slapped myself twice, hard.
It hurt. This wasn't a dream. It'd really been reborn. Excited, I immediately wanted to treat myself to smoke and fire barbecue on the corner, one of the few joys from my past life. I pushed open my bedroom door, and 3 pairs of eyes locked onto me, my dad, my stepmom, and my younger brother. Expressionless, I headed straight for the entrance. Sure enough, my brother spoke first.
Bro, it's almost noon. You're still going out?
Not staying for lunch?
But before I could answer, my stepmother Linda Wang chimed in. Kevin's so considerate, unlike some people who can't even stay home after graduating college, just wandering around all day. My dad, Robert Chen, slammed the TV remote onto the glass coffee table with a bang. Lunch is soon.
Stay home.
His tone left no room for argument. It'd seen through their act long ago. I just shrugged, ignored them, put on my shoes, and left. They were probably so used to my obedience that they didn't react until the door clicked shut. My stepmother shrieked, "This is insane. Robert, look at what your son's done."
My dad shot back, "What nonsense."
Like he's not your son too? Kevin butted in again. Mom, Dad, don't fight. It's all my fault. I didn't catch the rest. Out of sight, out of mind. I headed straight for smoke and fire barbecue on the corner, already scheming in my head how to make money and support myself. Just as I was thinking, a mechanical voice rang in my ear. Congratulations, host.
Bound to the self-love first system.
As long as the host changes the trajectory of your past life and chooses to love yourself, you will receive generous rewards.
I perked up.
A system standard issue for a reborn person. Self-love first.
I liked it.
As soon as I stepped into the BBQ joint, the owner greeted me warmly. Jack, back again? The usual, plus 2 burgers and 2 craft beers, I replied with a smile.
Whoa, Jack's in a good mood today.
Your girlfriend coming to see you? The owner knew me well and teased me when I was happy.
Nope, we broke up.
I didn't elaborate.
He got the hint and didn't press. I didn't feel like explaining either, but his mention reminded me. My phone lock screen and all my social media were filled with her photos. I pulled out my phone and deleted them all. By the time I was done, my burgers and craft beers arrived.
1 bite of the beef burger, 1 sip of ice-cold beer.
A wave of happiness washed over me. Then the system chimed again. Ding!
Congratulations, host.
Achieved first happiness burst. Reward $500,000, legally sourced, deposited into your bank account. As the voice faded, my phone buzzed with a text.
I checked it, 500 grand right there in my account.
A cold smirk curled my lips. In my past life, I got slapped by my girlfriend and told to get lost, just because I couldn't scrape together $50,000 for an engagement ring and wedding deposit. Money really was the cure for all depression. With this system, I didn't have to endure the grind of work anymore. Without hesitation, I quit on the spot. After eating, I took a cab to the office. As luck would have it, the moment I walked in, my department manager Mike Thompson was giving the staff a lecture. He was looking for a scapegoat, and when he saw me, he decided to make an example of me. He strode over and barked, "Jack Chen, you still dare to show up? Do you know what time it is?"
Want me to fire you?
Move it or get run over.
I shoved his bulky body aside. I was here to quit. I couldn't be bothered with him. In my past life, he was jealous that my girlfriend was pretty, so he found excuses to mess with me every day, and I actually bought his whole toughening you up act.
What?
Mike thought had misheard. That meek little employee dared to talk back. Say that again if you've got the guts. First time I've seen someone asking to be insulted. I let out a scornful laugh.
You fat pig.
Get out of my way, got it?
How dare you curse at me? An office worker who usually had zero presence jumped in.
You're late and you think you're in the right?
Apologized to Mike. I wasn't about to let him off. I grabbed him by the collar and lightly patted his cheek. I was busy dealing with him and forgot about you.
Ha!
You? What are you gonna do?
I'm warning you. This is a society of law. He was on the verge of tears, his trembling finger pointing at me feebly. If you don't have the guts, shut your mouth. I tossed him aside and walked toward the now silent Mike Thompson. Still feel like barking?
Huh? Speak.
I stared him down as he covered his mouth and backed away in panic. He didn't want to mess with someone who looked this unhinged. Jack, what are you doing? A familiar voice interrupted my stride toward HR. I turned around. It was Emily Zhang. She frowned, looking at me with disappointment.
Jack, look at what you've done.
Is this what you call working hard every day?
Shut up.
I cut her off without mercy.
Who do you think you are to lecture me?
You told me to shut up?
Emily was stunned, then exploded. Say that again if you dare. What's wrong with you people?
Got some weird fetish for being yelled at.
I gave a bitter laugh.
Miss Emily, please stop yapping, got it?
Is this another one of your little tricks? Emily's face twisted into a sneer.
You're still so disgusting.
Split personality? Learn in some Jekyll and Hyde act? I pointed at my head and said, if your brain's broken, go see a doctor. Don't add to the mental hospital's trouble. Okay?
What did you say?
Emily had never heard such insulting words in her life. She shrieked. Don't expect me to forgive you for what you did today. I pressed my forehead.
In my past life? How could I have loved someone like this to the bone?
So far from divine, and even farther from ordinary. Totally impossible to communicate with.
I decided to ignore her.
I walked past her and headed straight to HR to quit. Emily wanted to say more, but a coworker tugged her sleeve.
Don't provoke him.
Hez off today. By then, Emily had calmed down a bit. She'd been called out of her seat, and her first thought was that it'd cause trouble that would drag down her future. A wave of panic surged through her mind, but honestly, she didn't care that much. Sooner or later, it'd come crawling back to win her over. That's how it had always been all these years, right? Of course, I had no idea what Emily was thinking. Watching everything unfold in the lobby, HR Director Sarah Lee didn't dare object to a single word and obediently processed my resignation. As I left, I said, thanks. Sarah was stunned for a long time, but none of that mattered anymore. The moment I finished the resignation process, the system's chime rang in my head.
Another ding.
Simple trash talk, ultimate satisfaction.
Congratulations, host.
Completed achievement. Verbal duel with a bunch of scholars. Reward 10% shares of the city's strongest company, valued at $100 million, now legally belonging to the host. Please check your account soon. It was shares in my own company. I rubbed my chin, mulling it over. With $500,000 in hand, I didn't want to spend another second at home. After spotting a penthouse in Pacific Heights I liked, I went back to pack my things. Things really just meant a few keepsakes my biological mother left me. I whistled as I walked home. Finally, I wouldn't have to deal with those awful people every day. When I got home, the door was wide open. My heart skipped a beat. I rushed inside and saw my younger brother Kevin fiddling with the coming-of-age necklace my mom had left me. My eyes went red instantly. Without a word, I kicked him. Get lost. Ouch! My brother, caught off guard, fell to the floor and burst into loud sobs. The necklace slipped from his hand and clinked onto the ground. I snatched it up, cradling it in my hands as I carefully wiped it off. If it had gotten even a scratch, it'd make that kid pay. Hearing the commotion, my parents rushed over. The moment they walked, they saw Kevin lying pitifully on the floor. My stepmother let out a shriek and lunged toward him. Oh, my little Kevin, are you okay?
On the ground, Kevin clutched his back and called out, "Mom."
That one word completely burned away whatever was left of my stepmother's sanity. She flailed wildly and charged at me.
You little bastard.
How can you be so cruel?
As your brother.
I sidestepped and let out a cold laugh.
Brother?
I don't have a brother who messes with other people's things. When she couldn't catch me, she turned to my dad. She threw herself into his arms, tears streaming down her face.
Look at the son you raised all over a necklace.
I've had enough of marrying into this family.
And my dad, as always, fell for it. He furrowed his brow at me and said, apologize to your brother right now or don't call me dad.
I laughed. A cold, bitter laugh.
Holding up the necklace, I asked him, you don't recognize this necklace? My dad's body stiffened noticeably, but he still forced himself to say, apologize. With my answer clear, I put the necklace away and said in an icy tone, I remember I gave you face before.
What did you say back then?
My dad trembled with rage, pointing a shaky finger at me. Get out. I'll pretend I never had a son like you.
You people sure know how to flatter yourselves.
At this point, I couldn't be bothered to save them any face. Now any stray cat or dog could come here and yap. They were all shaking with anger, pointing at me, unable to get a word out. If you can't talk, shut up. All this endless nagging, when will it ever end? Just then, my phone rang. The cab I'd called had arrived. I didn't want to waste any more time with them. I grabbed a few small items my mom had left me and headed downstairs without looking back, getting into the car. After I left, my stepmother started her usual routine, sobbing and wailing. Oh, why is my life so hard?
Enough. Stop it.
My dad snapped impatiently.
Fine, Robert. Now you dare to yell at me?
Sitting in the car, I rubbed the necklace, and the system's chime sounded again. Congratulations, host. You have broken away from your original family, changed your original fate trajectory, and learned to love yourself. Reward: 1 Porsche 911 Turbo SGT Series, parked in your community parking spot. The keys are in your pocket.
Please check.
Before I could even get excited, my phone rang again. I answered instinctively, and that familiar voice came through. Jack, I hung up immediately.
What was I thinking?
I casually blocked that number. I also deleted the contact info from my 3 family members, just for some peace and quiet. He dared to hang up on me? Emily was absolutely furious. She tried calling again, only to find herself blocked. She threw her phone in a rage, then scrambled to pick it up, wincing in pain. She had intended to give Jack an out, calling to demand an explanation, but now she was blocked. Her plan was to give him a chance, and now he was nowhere to be found. The more Emily thought about it, the more unsettled she felt. Just as tears were about to fall, her phone rang again.
Here we go.
She thought, deciding to make him wait a bit to show she didn't want to bother with him. After nearly 50 seconds, Emily figured it was enough and picked up. The caller ID read Brother Long. Hello, she answered cautiously. Emily, quite the attitude, making me wait 50 seconds. If you don't pay up soon, the interest will double. Brother Long, I really didn't mean to, Emily said, on the verge of a breakdown.
Why did the debt collector have to call now of all times?
I promise I'll pay you back by the end of the month.
End of the month, huh? Fine.
If you don't, you know what I'm capable of.
I know.
Just thinking about Brother Long's collection tactics made Emily's legs go weak. Since Jack wasn't answering, she immediately called her first love, Brian Liu. Emily deliberately pitched her voice high, cooing sweetly, spit it out or I'm hanging up. Compared to Emily, Brian's voice was dripping with impatience, as if being associated with a woman like her was beneath him.
Could you lend me some money?
The line went dead with a dial tone. Emily hung her head helplessly, but her mind drifted to Jack, the one who always solved her problems. Because of her stubbornness, she felt like she had lost something precious. I'm definitely not wrong, she told herself, grabbing her bag and heading straight for Brian's place. I was sitting by the floor-to-ceiling window in my new home when my phone suddenly buzzed. An unexpected call came in. It was the secretary of the Lin Group, the city's wealthiest family.
Mr.
Jack. Brian's tone was full of impatience, as if being linked to a woman like her would tarnish his reputation.
Could you lend me some money?
The line went dead with a dial tone. Emily lowered her head in defeat, her thoughts drifting to Jack. He always showed up to fix all her problems. Because of her stubbornness, she felt like she had lost something precious. I'm definitely not wrong, she told herself. She mustered her courage, grabbed her bag, and headed straight for Brian's place. I was sitting by the floor-to-ceiling window in my new home when my phone suddenly buzzed. An unexpected call came in. It was the secretary of the Lin Group, the city's wealthiest family.
Mr.
Jack. The group's shareholder meeting is tomorrow at 10 in the morning. Please make sure to attend. I looked down at the bustling crowds below, a cold smirk curling on my lips. In my past life, I slaved away at the Lin Group for 7 full years, only to be laid off with my severance pay docked. Now, as a major shareholder holding 10% of the shares, it was my turn to call the shots. The next day, as soon as I walked into the Lin Group building, the front desk receptionist tried to stop me. I pulled out my black card and flashed it in front of her. Her face changed instantly, and she bowed 90 degrees, her collar nearly popping open. The chairman is waiting for you on the top floor. As the elevator doors opened, Emily was walking out with a coffee cup. When she saw me in my custom-tailored suit, the Starbucks cup in her hand hit the floor with a thud, the brown liquid splashing onto her brand-new Chanel outfit, just like the coffee she had thrown in my face in my past life.
How did you get in?
Her voice trembled, her perfectly manicured nails digging deep into her palm. I stepped over the stain, but suddenly felt someone grab my wrist. Turning around, I saw her eyes reddening. I know I was wrong. Can we start over? Miss Emily, I said, prying her fingers off one by one. Go find your white moonlight and leave me alone. She pulled her hand back as if burned, her carefully styled hair plastered to her forehead with sweat. Just yesterday, she had gone to throw herself at Brian, only to get tossed out by his family's bodyguards. At that moment, Brian looked at her like she was a stray dog, sneering, a tramp like you thinks you can climb the Chen family tree? Just then, a commotion erupted in the elevator lobby. A dozen black-suited bodyguards surrounded an elderly man with graying hair as he walked toward me.
William Lin, chairman of the Lin Group.
Mr. Jack, I've heard so much about you, the old man said, shaking my hand, a glint of sharpness flashing in his cloudy eyes. I hear you have some new ideas for the group's development. In the meeting room, when I plugged the USB drive into the projector, the whole room erupted. The screen clearly showed evidence of Mike Thompson embezzling company funds, along with chat logs of him privately contacting headhunters to jump ship. A parasite like this will ruin the Lin Group sooner or later, I said, glancing sideways at Mike, whose face had turned pale. But that's not the main point. I switched the screen to show photos of William's most beloved illegitimate son splurging at the Venetian in Las Vegas. The old fox's cane struck the floor heavily. What does Mr. Jack want? I want a seat on the board, I said, leaning over the conference table, looking down at the group of old foxes before me, and the position of director of the newly established investment department. As soon as I said this, the major shareholders in the room erupted into chaos. It was an outrageous demand, but after a moment of hesitation, the largest shareholder, David Lin, chose to agree. He could tell this man was no ordinary person who knew how many secrets he still held. His own old skeletons couldn't afford to see the light.
Better not to provoke him.
Seeing their biggest backer cave, the others, though reluctant, eventually nodded in agreement. Watching this, I smiled and nodded.
Looks like you're not all completely lost yet.
Meanwhile, my house had descended into chaos. Robert came home from work, wanting nothing more than to rest, only to find no dinner prepared. His face darkened. Where's the food? What are you yelling about? My stepmother Linda came out of the room with her hands on her hips, looking annoyed.
Wasn't that kid the one who used to cook?
Now that he's gone, you're not going to make dinner?
Robert's face turned ashen.
Work had already worn him out and he didn't want to argue.
Do you know how much housework I do every day?
Linda started listing her grievances, but Robert cut her off. Enough, enough. Is comparing who's more tired really worth it?
Where's Kevin?
Have him cook a meal.
Robert waved his hand, clearly wanting to end the argument. But that only set Linda off.
Have Kevin cook?
She shrieked. Kevin is going to a top university.
You want him to waste his precious time cooking?
Dad, Mom, what's wrong?
Hearing the commotion, Kevin came out of his room looking concerned. Robert was about to lose his temper, but seeing Kevin, he forced a smile. Nothing.
Oh, then Mom, Dad, when are we eating?
Kevin asked with innocent confusion. A 17-year-old, still acting like a child. Back to the same topic, Robert rubbed his forehead, his mind involuntarily drifting to his eldest son, the one who had been in the kitchen every day since he was 15, always having dinner ready, always saying with a smile, "Dad, you must be tired."
Let's eat.
He took care of the whole family and still got into a top university, didn't he? Robert sighed, too exhausted to deal with this mother and son. He turned to leave, planning to grab a bite downstairs, but Linda grabbed his arm. "If you leave, what about me and Kevin?" Robert shook her off impatiently. "Make it yourself." Linda stared at her freed hand, tears streaming down her face like broken pearls. As she wiped them away, she wailed, "When you married me, you promised I'd never have to step foot in the kitchen."
Robert, fed up, shouted, "Can you just leave me alone?"
With that, he slammed the door behind him. The bang sent a gust of wind that hit the stunned faces of the mother and son. After the shareholder meeting ended, the familiar system notification chimed in my ear. Ding. Congratulations, host, on completing the goal of protecting your own rights. Reward. A file on the Brian Liu family's secrets. After absorbing the information, I raised an eyebrow.
Interesting.
A message came in from Kevin using a colleague's phone. "Bro, it's me. Dad's in the hospital. San Francisco General." I stared at the screen and let out a cold laugh. In my past life, when my dad had a sudden heart attack, I knelt begging the doctor to operate first, but my stepmother slapped me. If you hadn't run away and made him angry, this wouldn't have happened. In the end, my dad didn't make it, and they blamed everything on me. Back then, they drained me dry and then spat on my bones. This time, I want to see how these vampires tear each other apart. Get the car ready, I said to the bodyguard behind me. We're going to San Francisco General. Outside the ICU, my stepmother was clinging to the doctor's white coat, wailing, "Save my husband first.
My son will pay for it.
She turned and saw me, her triangular eyes gleaming with greed. Oh, the little bastard finally comes home.
Go pay the medical bills.
I walked straight to the payment window. The smug smile on her face froze when I said to the nurse, "Process the discharge for Robert Chen." "Are you insane?" she shrieked, lunging at me, but the bodyguards grabbed her arms.
"Jack Chen, you'll die a horrible death."
I turned and looked down at this woman who had once locked me on the balcony all night. An ER bed costs $1,200 an hour, and a regular ward is $480 a day. Since you're so good at saving money, I pulled out my phone and scrolled through the transfer records. Let's settle the score on how much I've poured into this household over the years. The screen was covered in dense billing records that stung her eyes. From the day I graduated, the utility bills, gas bills, Kevin's tutoring fees, her cosmetic surgery costs, and even the watch she bought for her lover last month, all paid for my account. "You're lying," she said, breaking free from the bodyguard and pulling a crumpled IOU from her bag. "Black and white, signed by your father." I stared at the crooked handwriting, borrowed $50,000 from Linda Wang. Then I laughed. In my past life, this very fake IOU forced me to sign a waiver of inheritance rights. "A handwriting appraisal costs $30,000, I said, slapping the IOU on the nurse's station counter. "And call the police while you're at it." The sirens were still wailing as Linda burst out of the fire escape. Her face was flushed and unnatural red, a syringe clutched in her hand as she lunged at me. "If I'm finished, you're not living either." The bodyguard pinned her to the ground with a takedown. The pale yellow liquid in the needle splashed onto the tiles, bubbling with eerie foam. DEA agents stormed in and cuffed her.
"Someone reported drug possession here."
I crouched down, using the tip of my shoe to lift her chin. "Brian Liu gave you that, didn't he? Did he tell you it was a love potion to win me back?" Her pupils contracted sharply. I leaned in close and whispered, "Guess how he knew you'd come looking for me today?"
My phone rang. A video call.
On the screen, Brian Liu was clinking glasses with Kevin. Thanks to Kevin for clearing the place out.
"Your little brother's way more fun than Linda."
Kevin, eyes glazed with drink, raised his glass. "Bro, Brian says he's going to set up an art exhibition for me." I hung up and turned to William Lin, who had just arrived. "Chairman Lin, time to settle the tab for the $500 million your son lost at the Venetian in Las Vegas." The old man slammed his dragon-head cane against the floor, the dull thud echoing down the hallway. I ignored him and walked into the hospital room. On the bed, Robert's chest heaved violently, as if he wanted to say something.
Dad, did you know?
Kevin isn't your biological son.
I leaned down with a smile. "Tell me, when you killed Mom for money in your past life, did you ever think this day would come?"
A gurgling sound came from his throat.
His withered fingers suddenly grabbed my wrist. I smiled and pried them off, revealing a yellowed photo from the inner pocket of my suit. It was Mom holding me in my school uniform, with Dad cutting a birthday cake behind us. When he saw the photo, his pupils dilated. A single tear rolled down his cheek. Then, the heart monitor let out a long, flat beep. His eyes closed. I straightened my suit and gazed out the window into the pitch-black night. For a moment, I wanted to light a cigarette. One by one, the emergency room lights went out. David Lin's dragon-head cane pressed against my throat. This old fox, who had ruled the business world for 40 years, had finally torn off his benevolent mask. Veins bulged on his bony hand. "You think holding that ledger makes me unable to touch you?" I raised my hand to signal the bodyguards to back off, letting the scent of sandalwood fill my nostrils. "Chairman Lin, do you know why the Venetian in Las Vegas sends you cigars every month?" Feeling the cane tremble, I pulled out my phone with a smile. "Because every time you launder money through your son's account, the surveillance cameras are counting your chips for you, Dad." Kevin's screams came from the elevator lobby. His white shirt was stained with red wine, and he clutched the exhibition contract Brian had given him. But when he saw the surveillance footage, he tore the contract to shreds like a madman. "Impossible," Brian said. "This was a legal investment." I bent down to pick up the pieces, piecing together the line. "Artwork, money laundering agreement."
Brian didn't tell you, did he?
The money from those fake auctions all went into his father's campaign fund. Kevin's face turned ashen, muttering impossible over and over, stumbling backward before turning and running, clearly out of his mind. Sirens tore through the night again, but this time it was the FBI and SEC. As David Lin was led away, His cane clattered at my feet. You little bastard, you set me up. I smiled and waved goodbye, watching him and Brian being taken away together. In the morgue, Robert's body lay in the cold storage, his skin a deathly gray. My stepmother clutched the death certificate and screamed at me, 50,000 for the funeral, or I'll call the reporters and tell them you're an unfilial son. I slapped a check onto the autopsy table. Enough to buy your silence? As she reached for the check, I pressed the record button on my pen. A mechanical female voice began playing her boasts from yesterday at the beauty salon. That old man's insurance policy, once little Chase study abroad paperwork goes through, will pay out $3 million.
How did you get that?
Her face went pale, her nails digging deep into her palms, because the girl who does your facials just got her Stanford offer. I looked down at the woman who once locked me on the balcony all night. Oh, and little Chase SAT scores were bought. Stanford's complaint letter should be arriving soon. Her phone started buzzing wildly. On a video call, little Chai was crying and shouting, "Mom, Brian abandoned me on a gambling ship in international waters." Gunshots rang out in the background, followed by English curses, "Asian dog, pay up." I smiled at my collapsed stepmother. 50,000, still enough to save your son? But I loosened my tie. I'd rather watch you tear each other apart. At the Lynn Capitol building, my inauguration banquet was underway. Without warning, the crystal chandelier shattered, gunfire and screams erupting simultaneously. I threw myself to the ground, just as the system predicted, watching the hitman sent by Brian's father mistakenly kill William Lynn's illegitimate son, the same playboy who ran me over in my past life. A blood-red flower bloomed on his forehead. Jack, my bodyguard, handed me a blood-stained financial report. All of the Lynn family's overseas assets have been frozen. I wiped the brain matter off my ring and glanced at the surveillance footage of Brian being taken away by Interpol. He was kicking and screaming at the transport van, while Kevin's body had just been pulled from San Francisco Bay, an exhibition invitation still tied to his ankle. Ding. Congratulations, host, on completing the Blood Feast event. You have been awarded the Eye of Fate, allowing you to foresee 3 fatal crises. The banquet hall doors suddenly swung open, and Emily Zhang stood there in the white dress from the first time we met. Her trembling gun aimed at me, but a brighter red was seeping from her abdomen. Brian's final gift, a micro bomb embedded in her belly button ring.
Let's die together.
Her final curse was swallowed by the explosion. I stood in the rain of blood, smiling faintly, as the vengeful spirits of past and present lives materialized one by one in the smoke. My phone lit up with a new message from the system. Final judgment, end the cycle with your own hands. I stood quietly in the penthouse apartment at Pacific Heights, the massive floor-to-ceiling windows reflecting the city lights, like the burning fuel tank from the car crash in my past life. I lit a cigarette, the flame from the lighter illuminating my face, and beside me, my mother's portrait.